The federal government is actively pursuing international partnerships to explore the potential of clean nuclear power as part of its broader strategy to meet the country's growing energy demands. That's according to the Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal. He said this on the sidelines of the ongoing United Nations Climate Change Conference in Azerbaijan. Esther Mokbayola has the details.
It's the second week of high-level discussions at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Azerbaijan, where countries are securing crucial deals to advance global climate action. Delegates from around the world are working to keep the ambitious goal of limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius within reach. Nigerian representatives at this year's summit say the country is ramping up its efforts to combat climate change. They are focusing on cutting greenhouse gas emissions and investing in renewable energy alongside other eco-friendly initiatives.
And part of what we're discussing is now, how do we now harness clean nuclear power? Clean nuclear power. So we have been able to sit down with them. We've got some commitments from them. They are in Thailand, they are in Ghana, but I think they promised to get to Nigeria. Not only are we talking about there are certain stimulators that they are going to bring, but to teach us how we can do that.
With nearly 70% of Nigerians relying on off-grid solutions for their energy needs, the government plans to harness renewable resources to boost power generation to 30 megawatts by 2030.
Over 32 states in Nigeria have nothing less than 8 to 10 hours of sunlight on a daily basis. So what excuse do we have not to exploit solar energy as renewable energy? And with the recent problem we're having with the grid, we believe we need to decentralize our power generation across all the subnationals so that each of the states can have embedded power plants in their own states.
As the summit continues, Nigeria is positioning itself to take bold steps in both reducing emissions and meeting its energy needs with a cleaner and more sustainable approach. Esther Mokbayola, TVC News, Azerbaijan.
Now, for more on this development, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Climate Technology, Olamide Faguji, joins me from Azerbaijan. Good to have you join us.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Give us insights into Nigeria's level of progress on the ongoing climate negotiations holding at the UN Climate Summit.
Okay, thank you. So far, the negotiations have been very good. Obviously, we're in the second week, and Nigeria basically has been participating very effectively, and our stance is focused on advocating for equitable climate finance and proactively planning for energy transition and navigating the global climate politics. We've emphasized the need for a just transition, and we also recognize that developmental needs and importance and support from developing countries and for technology very important issue. Now, although a lot of the agenda items are closed at this point because of the conclusions of them are considered, this has been a process, an ongoing process of the problem. So they've been moved to the next SB62 session, but we hope that we will be able to make more progress in the coming days before the finalization. And others are still being negotiated, and so we cannot project the outcomes just yet.
So one of the biggest conversation or the major conversation in this summit has been climate financing. For Nigeria, what plans are in place to make sure that climate funds are used effectively to help vulnerable areas in the country?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very good question. So even by the way the work has been bifurcated, we have other funds like loss and damage. We have adaptation and mitigation funds. We are insisting that to ensure that the funds that are coming from climate finance are being effectively used in vulnerable areas. We're looking at, as you know, there's a lot of climate impacts in Nigeria which have been causing devastation. So things like flood risk and impacts on livelihoods and lives is what we're insisting on, and in country as well. there will be a need for the government to proactively ensure that these funds are utilized in meeting the needs of people in vulnerable areas. So we employ various climate finance instruments, ensuring that we use concessional loans, equity investments, guaranteed lines of credit, and making credit accessible to small SMEs, also people who are farming, to make sure that the impact on our food security is mitigated.
And we hope that those in the oil extraction areas are also put into consideration, because that's one of the conversation at the summit as well. But I wanted to ask you, we understand that the federal government is planning to invest in renewables, and that's for it to meet its energy needs and then also cut down on carbon emissions by 2060. One would say that this is an ambiguous target. How does it intend to achieve this?
Well, as you know, so far we have, I think we've had quite a quantum of climate finance that has the country has benefited from. In achieving our goals, ambitious targets by 2060 to move away from fossil fuels and be able to use renewables, we're going to be having to diversify our energy mix, and some of the things we'll be focusing on proliferating renewables at scale. So things like solar, LPG, gas. You know, we have a gas expansion plan as well for the country, and also to other less decarbonized forms of energy generation. We'll also be managing job losses. We're also considering the energy sector as well, because with this transition, there's a potential for job losses, specifically the oil sector. You know, it's a global thing. You know, this shift is happening globally, so we also take cognizance of that fact. And also be promoting fair and inclusive energy transition in Africa. There's a coalition of countries in Africa with the same needs as well. So we're taking that into consideration. So electrification, you know, in Nigeria is going to be something which should be a whole of government approach. Also, noting that the states have a role to play in this. We'll be engaging with subnationals.
All right.
To also make sure that they're included. Thank you.
We'll see how the government would implement its takeaways from this summit. Thank you so much for your time. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Climate Technology, Olamide Faguji.